Hello, my name is Jubin with Dana Legal Services, and in today's video we're going to talk specifically about how do I do a product search. So I have an idea. How do I go about searching to see if my idea is already patented? One of the things that we always advise our clients is, do you know the industry? Are you someone who's familiar with the industry or the area that you're developing or creating in, or are you just entering this industry for the first time and you have no familiarity with it? So for example, if you're someone who's worked in the semiconductor space and you're now trying to create something in the automotive industry that's related to a combustion engine, you probably don't know the industry that well. On the other hand, if you're a semiconductor person and you're developing something for the semiconductor space, you know the area well. So the number one thing that you need to understand is, are you an expert in the field or not? If you're an expert in the field, then I would look at two different things. Number one, what is your knowledge of the solution you're coming up with? So if you look at the industry and you're aware of the industry and you've worked in the industry and you suddenly come up with a solution to an existing problem in the industry, then you probably have found something that hasn't really been protected or patented or someone hasn't thought of. Because if the solution had been out there, or if someone had already thought of the solution, then most likely they would have written a paper on it or published it somewhere or shared it in your circle of expertise. So number one, are you an expert in the industry and have you heard anything if you are? Number two, you can start to look at things that are happening in different trade journals and things like that to understand what's happening in the industry. Now, on the other hand, if you're not someone who's an expert in the industry, then you definitely don't want to take on that search. But if you are, then you can take on that search because you can understand the things that are being disclosed and whether they're related to what you're doing or not. Now, if you're not an expert and you want to know what's happening in this space, you can hire a professional searcher. Most patent attorneys either do that search for you or they hire a professional company that does searching to do the search for you. Now remember, the cost of the search will vary depending on the number of databases you search. So for example, just searching for published patent applications, these are not patents, these are patent applications, you can spend a certain amount of money. But if you're going to search for published patent applications and technical journals published by universities and technical journals published by professionals, then your database is growing. And hence the number of things you're uncovering is growing. And as a result of that, what you have to analyze and the time needed for attorneys to analyze that, to give you feedback on a patentability search or whether or not your idea is out there, is going to cost a lot more. Now, do we encourage people doing searching? Do we think it's a good idea? Do we think it's a bad idea? Again, it's really kind of fact driven. So bring us your scenario, bring us your questions. We'll discuss it with you and we'll help answer it. Here's a general guideline. Back to the beginning of the video when I said, are you an expert in the space that you're creating or innovating or finding solutions to problems? If you are an expert, then most likely your knowledge is going to be great in terms of what's out there and what's not. If you're not an expert and you've never been in this space before, then your knowledge is probably not going to be that good. You probably won't understand the terminology of the industry as well. So in those scenarios where you're not an expert, it's good to do a search. You should maybe invest some money on it. On the other hand, in the areas where you're really familiar and you're an expert, if you're finding that you're an expert and you've done a lot in this space and you can't find anything like it, then most likely you don't need to do a search. Bring us your facts. Like I said, we'll talk it over with you during your free consult. Here's our contact info. Thank you for listening.